You're listening to Business Buzz, the official podcast of King's Business Club, the largest business and finance society in London.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Business Buzz with me, Alex. In today's episode, I'm joined by physics master student at the University of Leicester, founder of the Physical Student blog, and founding member of Work in Fintech, a company centered around inspiring students, graduates, and young professionals to a career in fintech. So it's my absolute pleasure to welcome you today, Jagraj Singh, to KCL, and also to speak with me today at King's Business Club. So welcome.
Yeah, pleasure, mate. Pleasure, all mine. Great to be here.
Yeah. So I'd just like to kick off then with just some general questions about your background. I'd just like to hear about sort of your academic background. I know you're doing a master's at Leicester University. So why don't you tell me about that and some of the professional experiences you've had?
Yeah, so I'm from the Midlands, actually from Coventry, and decided to go local to Leicester. Went to state secondary school in a small town called Bedworth, and went to sixth form there as well. I'm currently in my fourth year doing physics at the University of Leicester. So it's an integrated master's course. It's been a pretty hectic few weeks back at uni. I also work part-time with an energy supplier called Octopus Energy for 2.5 years now. I interned with Barclays Bank over the summer in their technology division. And for the past year or so, I've been part of a side project called Work in Fintech, which we'll get onto later, which started as a side project where it's becoming increasingly more active and taking up much more time. So, yeah.
Yeah, some really interesting things there. You mentioned Barclays. That's a fantastic internship. So congrats on that, by the way. And also Octopus Energy. I'm not sure what your thoughts are on the new, I guess they call it a clear out of smaller energy companies. So what are your thoughts there? Is Octopus here to stay or not?
Yeah, so the good news is Octopus customers have nothing to worry about. So Octopus Energy is actually part owned and backed by Octopus Investments. So they're a massive conglomerate with several sectors such as real estate, investments, energy is one of them, and it's like a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate basically. Started years ago, so Octopus doesn't have anything to worry about. They actually recently received funding from Al Gore's investment fund over in America. I think they received $600 million for a certain percentage share. So definitely a good time to be an Octopus Energy employee. But as for the rest of the market, obviously we've seen gas prices go through the roof.
Absolutely,
and electricity prices. And a lot of smaller energy suppliers have gone out of business, basically. I think, there's only a handful left, apart from obviously the main ones like British Gas and stuff. And it's all to do with hedging, really. So it does come down to, I guess, finance in the end. Energy suppliers basically have to hedge their energy in advance for each customer to match wholesale prices. And if you don't hedge well, then you're in trouble if prices go up. If prices go down, you're fine. But if prices go up, then energy suppliers find themselves in a lot of trouble, and that's what we're seeing at the moment.
Yeah, well, if Al Gore puts his faith in you, it's safe to say you're probably going to be okay. So yeah, this is a part-time job, I assume, then, alongside studies?
Yeah, so I actually came into Octopus when it was a much smaller company, when it was at, I think, 400,000 customers. It's now got roughly 3 million, I think. And it was in the summer of 2019. Joined as an intern and basically just loved it. So just decided to stick around. Very, very flexible. Love the working culture. Love the people there. All things are good there.
Yeah. So in terms of your academic background, then you mentioned you're a master's student. So tell me about that then. Why did you decide to go this route?
Basically, from a young age, I've always been fascinated with space. How much we don't really know know what's out there, etc. And the decision when I was in late secondary was between doing a maths degree, physics or engineering, and sort of physics was in the middle of both of them, so it was sort of the best of all worlds. Why, physics specifically? I've been asking myself that lately. With the master's workload. But the work is hard, but it's also rewarding. I definitely, we're doing a module in general relativity and quantum field theory this year, and it's really interesting. But it completely blows your mind when your lecturer says, you shouldn't think of time as you think of it. It's more of an illusion, and you should think of time as different layers of space. So that aspect, it's really, really interesting, but it's also really, really difficult at the same time conceptually to think about it. But I just really, really like physics. I like that sort of stuff, and I think it's a good preparation for work life and career moving forwards.
Yeah. So on that then, what do you see yourself doing? Because I know you're heavily involved in fintech, and you're clearly passionate about cryptocurrency and blockchain. So is your future in physics specifically, or fintech, or is there a connection that you see as beneficial to you? Like, what are your thoughts?
I'll be honest, I'm not sure. When I first started my degree, the plan was to do a PhD. And the PhD was going to be in quantum computing and stuff like that. So that still may be the route that I go down, because quantum computing and all that sort of stuff linked in quite well with blockchain and stuff, because, it'll become really relevant pretty soon, with the buzzes that, quantum computing is going to crack Bitcoin and stuff like that. So yeah, not sure where the plan is after the master's degree, but either way, the main thing is that it will be something that I enjoy, basically, and it's not something that I'm just gonna not enjoy and get sick of, basically.
Yeah. So did you think about this before then? Because you think of things moving forward and fintech sort of taking over traditional banking, for example. It's the way forward, like decentralized finance, etc. I guess your degree background alongside your experience in fintech, I guess is going to be really relevant. Your skills are going to be in high demand, I think, in 10 years, even sooner than then. So did you plan this? Did you see into the future?
No, not really. I'll be honest. When I was first interested in physics, I didn't even know what Bitcoin was or anything like this.
Okay.
I think I only really got interested in cryptocurrency and stuff back in 2017, when me and my mate decided to download Coinbase and buy some Litecoin, and it went like that. We didn't sell, but just the euphoria of the price going up for something that doesn't really exist materially was really interesting. And obviously there's been a recent boom as well in the market, but it's always been something that's been on my mind, I guess, or in the back of my mind. But as for the physics, I guess it does link in really well all together. But it definitely wasn't planned. I can tell you that.
Right, because it seems that you're setting yourself up for success here, but I think you've just got lucky then. If you didn't plan, you found the right areas that would be relevant. So let's move on then. I want to hear specifically about work in fintechs. This seems to be the main project that they're working on alongside your degree right now. So before you mention the company itself, will you explain to some of our audience who doesn't know or who don't know what exactly fintech is? Will you just explain briefly what it is before we get into that?
Yeah, so the funny thing is, the word fintech itself is an amalgamation of finance and technology, and everyone has their own sort of description as to what fintech really is. So we have a podcast series where we ask every guest simply, what is fintech to you? And they say a range of answers. And there isn't one that fits all, I guess. For me personally, it's the digitalization of the financial industry. And I guess the next step of evolution for tech, sort of, encompassing everything. Obviously, we have big tech just taking over the world, and I don't, fintech is a branch of that. Replacing the legacy systems in place in the banking industry with faster, more efficient tech, systems such as challenger banks. You have tech startups, you have data management companies who get bought out, and you have obviously SaaS, which is a software as a service, which is absolutely booming right now. So I guess fintech is just innovation, I guess, as well, in a way.
Yeah, definitely. So you've got things like robo advisors as well in the asset management space, and just mobile banking. This is sort of what I think of when I think of fintech, because it's not really something I specialize in, but I do see it because every day there's new innovations, and I guess you're right when you say that. If I was to try and define it, it would be innovation through technology in the financial services industry. So building on that, then I'd like to hear a little bit about work in fintech and some of the aims and current projects. So why don't you explain something about that?
Yeah, sure. So Work in Fintech was a project started a year ago by our founder, Matthew Cheung, his brother, who basically runs Amplify with Eddie Donmez. And Matt did a talk at the Amplify Summer Program last year about fintech. He's CEO of iPushPull, another fintech. And basically a lot of us just had a lot of questions. I was really taken in and engaged with what he was saying. And he saw, I guess, a gap in the market, and he was like, let's do something about this. So many kids don't really know what fintech is. Why don't we make it a mission to make it more accessible for everyone? So Work in Fintech is an ed tech fintech, basically looking to introduce opportunities and raise awareness for the fintech space. And that goes for everyone. So students, if you want to change careers, those already in fintech. We have a podcast series with 2,000 listeners. We have 30 plus interviews with senior leaders in fintech, ranging from blockchain.com to checkout.com, Goldman Sachs to IBM, a 12-year-old NFT whiz kid, and recently the grandfather of Ethereum, Dmitry Buterin. So we've got plenty more lined up as well. Some of the projects that we've been involved with, apart from the podcast, have been a 6-week fintech work experience with a cohort from Matt's old school. We've gone on visits to the Revolut head office a few weeks ago, which you might have seen, Goldman Sachs, TP ICAP, and also the Mansion House in London, visiting the Lord Mayor. So that's just sort of the stuff that we've done within the year itself, the past year. And moving forwards, we're looking to build cohort-based courses for the 3 different crowds that I mentioned. So students and grads, career changers, and those already in fintech wanting to move faster. And I guess looking further out, what we kind of have started to discuss is implementing blockchain-based credentials for education. So having similar to how we have a Google account, but you can have an account for your education, and basically it would revolutionize the way for a need for a CV, basically, because you could just you just have access to your educational profile, which will be all on the blockchain so everyone could see it, which is quite a far-fetched idea, but obviously you've got to dream big to
everything's far-fetched until it's not.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess lastly, we'd like to be a first mover in the metaverse race, I guess. Facebook is building out theirs. They have Oculus and everything. But it'd be amazing to, have a metaverse associated with education, I guess.
Yeah. And I'm really excited for to see what happens with you guys, because I when I first heard about Work in Fintech, I think you told me about it personally, and I don't think I've seen something quite like it before, which I thought was really exciting. And I'm really, really looking forward to listening to your future podcasts and to see all the resources that you guys are going to be creating in the future. So do you think it's important then? Obviously you do, alongside Matthew. Do you guys think it's important in 2021 then to really understand fintech? And is this why work in fintech was created? Because it's such a big, booming industry and we have to understand it in order to get ahead, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. More people now than ever are moving from traditional finance to join fintechs or even start fintechs. We've had several guests on the podcast who have moved from, say, Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan and have gone off to, join a fintech or build their own. And that's purely because they prefer the high, fast-paced nature, more decision-making, less bureaucracy and more growth, sort of get on with it style of a fintech. I was actually reading earlier today, and this was a coincidence purely. There was a Lloyd's report which said 77% of senior leaders, have mentioned that technology, automation, and digital investment is a top strategic priority for the rest of the year and next year. And actually 37% are prioritizing investment in blockchain itself, which is up from 27% last year. So we also have like quantum computing firms looking to go public, IONQ, Rigetti Computing. They're looking to go public with Series A funding. So it's definitely an exciting time to be in the space. And I guess, strap in and enjoy the ride.
Yeah, definitely. And I definitely will be investing more of my time in understanding the industry because it's so important. And it's probably the future as well. We're both quite young, right? So we may see a full transition from traditional banking into decentralized finance. In fact, I'm almost certain. So it's essential for our generation to understand it. And something else within the space that's a huge hot topic right now, obviously cryptocurrency and blockchain. And some people still don't understand exactly what they mean. And it still confuses me sometimes because it can be complicated. So how would you sort of explain the blockchain to someone without obviously the depth, briefly, how would you explain it to people?
You can think of a blockchain as an open ledger, which is transparent for everyone to see. It's like an online digital record book, where if you send someone a transaction, you can see it happening in real life almost. So I also believe it's the future, like you said, because of the technology involved. I think it'll be very hard for it to overhaul the current financial system. But then we'd veer into politics and, we'll leave that where it is. But having an open ledger, which is transparent, only will help increase equality in the world. If you really think about it, it will mean that, shady deals going on will be open for all. And when you have banks and financial institutions like Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, and Citibank and stuff like that, who said that blockchain and Bitcoin were just nothing a few years ago, and now they are putting resources and money into creating actual like divisions inside their banks for digital assets. It's quite something to think about because it shows that it's not just retail investors who are taking it seriously. It's big institutions, and obviously Grayscale is the biggest one. Such a big custodial of Bitcoin and Ethereum and stuff like that. And now they're reaping the rewards. And obviously everyone loves 1,000% returns for cryptocurrency, but we're already seeing a reduction in volatility, if you like, since the early years. And although the chances of making it big, like those who bought Bitcoin in 2012 or 2013, they are slim, the chances, unless, you bet big on a small market cap coin, but, you might as well go to the casino, right? There's still a lot of maturity to take place in the space, which is the important thing because it will happen right like where we are. It will happen around us and we'll be able to witness it as well. So you can think of it as like the dot-com boom in the early 2000s. And this is like our boom, I guess. But there's so many amazing projects going around with some of the best minds in the space as well that it moves so fast that one day you'll know something and the next day what you know will be old news. And, I really like that. It's really fun.
Yeah, it is. And I've got a mate who is just so passionate about it. He thinks it's so exciting, this new digital way of holding money, and something that's not really, it's not tangible and it's not real, really. But what do you say to people then who claim that? Because for me, I've got money in cryptocurrency, but I just trade it. What do you say to people then who claim that cryptocurrency could never really be a currency? It couldn't replace fiat currency. Like for those people who want to hold it and want to make transactions with using Bitcoin, there are high officials then who are claiming that it could never replace fiat currency. In the ECB and the Fed. Like, what do you say then to that idea? Do you think it could be a currency?
I can, and that's because technically it's already taken place. So in El Salvador, Bitcoin is now legal tender. So technically it is happening, but I guess mainstream adoption, me and you sending Bitcoin daily, like we would for, I don't know, a Mackey's or something like that. In regards to that, the important thing to realize is that things in life that have value only have value because we say so. So fiat wasn't always around. It was technically gold, and gold is the real store of value. And obviously Bitcoin is now likened to be digital gold because it's finite. Whereas if you have you have fiat, which can be, printed and, eased into the society with quantitative easing, you kind of have to think, what, without getting philosophical, like what really holds value in life, I guess. Because fiat is only the social norm which we all use at the moment. But who knows what it will be in 200 years' time or 100 years' time. It could be Bitcoin. Bitcoin will be fully mined by the mid-2100s. Who knows? Maybe once it's mined, everyone's like, wow, that's it. 21 million Bitcoin, that's it. No Bitcoin after that will be created. Now we have like all the Bitcoin ready to, I don't know, go to the next level. But, fiat's only been around for a couple of 100 years. Before that, it was gold coins, basically. So
this is just the next step in the currency. It's like an upgrade, really.
Yeah, definitely. I do think so. And that's not to say that it won't be difficult. Like I said earlier, central banks won't want to relinquish their control that they have at the moment. They just won't. Obviously, we see news coming out of China that they've banned Bitcoin for like the 7 millionth time or something like that.
It's like when Elon Musk sends a tweet saying Bitcoin's going up. It's sort of that herd immunity now. Nobody really listens that much anymore. Yeah. Maybe that's a bold statement, but I think
that's the thing. It'll only take a few big institutions like a Tesla when they started accepting Bitcoin for the price to go crazy, and
that's why a lot of people stay miles away from it, because you just can't predict. Like today, Bitcoin is doing really well today. I think we're up to about 57K today. So most people's portfolios are looking good. But I guess the psychology of it then is that people think we're bullish. Whereas all it takes is maybe not Elon Musk anymore, because sort of his message has died out a little bit now. But it could be a large institution giving seriously bearish views on Bitcoin and saying that it could collapse completely. And then it's mainly retail investors that they sell. So you just can't tell. And that's why people stay away from it.
It's all a game, though. If you think about it, the bearish news when it comes out, it's the easy thing is to say, it's all over. Bitcoin's going to, whatever zero. But in reality, there are whales in play, and what they really want to do is just shake paper hands out of their Bitcoin, essentially. And it's all a big play done by people who have been controlling, I don't know, markets for years. And now it's much, much easier to do because A, the asset is unregulated, and B, the volatility is so high because it's so new that you can do swings of 10, 20% and you make racks, absolutely millions. But it's, yeah.
Yeah, it's exciting, and I think that's what attracts a lot of retail investors to crypto, because they think they can make huge money on altcoins and things like that. I tend to stick to more mainstream. I've got money in different things like Cardano and Solana, and obviously Ethereum and Bitcoin. I think Ethereum's going to be the one for me. Because of how smart the contract is. I think that's going to be the one for the future. And we can talk a little bit more about that if you like. But something that I'm super new to and I don't really understand that much are NFTs. And I'm not sure how much you know about NFTs, but like, what are your thoughts on them? Do you think this is just some bubble, or do you think this is like a transformational way of sending and receiving things?
It's interesting. You can first, I was skeptical, as a lot of people still are, but I think it's just another phase of the crypto ecosystem that's playing out. You can liken it to digital art, I guess, and that's what people liken it to. Similar to art, the price threshold to actually get into it is stupidly high. And we do have a whiz kid in the ranks now at work in Fintech, Benjamin Ahmed, who has his own NFT collections, and he's minted them himself, and he's only, I think, 12.
I've read a lot about him online. That's the thing, that's absolutely genius what he did.
And he's got a couple of mil now from minting NFTs and selling them. So the listeners who have heard of Weird Whales and NF Heroes, that's Benjamin Ahmed, and stories like that are great to hear. And we can't wait to be part of the journey with him moving forwards. There will always be skeptics with NFTs, money laundering, etc. Prices are too high. It's sending gas fees crazy. But I think the crazy prices will calm down. They are calming down essentially already. But they'll always be around because of what's already happened, and be worth something. Again, it comes down to, what do you think has value? And if people say NFTs have value, they have value at the end of the day. We had, back in 17, 18, we had IPO mania where everyone wanted to IPO, or ICO, I guess, initial coin offerings. And then DeFi took off in 2020. And then, perhaps 2021 was the year of NFTs. And obviously we'll have different phases in the space. Next year might be something else, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a minute. And that will just carry on. And then at some point, the space will, again, it comes down to maturity. The space will mature to the point where new things come out, and then it creates a little buzz, and then it settles back down. And I think that's how it'll go. Yeah.
And my view on the crypto space right now is that, especially NFTs, I think, is that this year and maybe next year, it's a trend. It's not necessarily a phase or a bubble either, but it's hugely trending, and that's obviously quite suspicious, because when something's hugely popular, it could be dead in 3 years. But I think with things like this, because we're right in the middle of like an uprising of blockchain and cryptocurrency, that it seems very new, and the volatility everywhere, and it seems to want to deter you almost. But if you give it some time, I think NFTs will be standard practice, not just in the sense that you can buy pictures of apes and whales, but it paves the way for the ownership of things digitally and unique ownership. And I think that's absolutely fantastic, because it's a hugely innovative project. It's more because I was trying to explain this to my father, and he was like, why would I want to own a JPEG of a penguin for 50 grand? And I'm like, well, maybe you don't. That's fair enough. It's a fair point. But this whole thing now is just trading pictures. It's the ability to own something digitally. Anyone can go on Google Images, find an image, and then save it. But it's not ownership, and it's not everyone can have that. But that's what I love about NFTs, is that it could be something really big beyond its current use, and I'm sure you agree. So we can talk about what you think is next, if you like, or you can add to my discussion on NFTs.
No, it actually feeds in quite nicely with the last question. In the short term, I guess, it literally is the same thing that you were saying. Now, I'm actually interested in asset tokenization on the blockchain. So sort of linked with NFTs, but sort of, there's a couple of teams out there who are attempting this, and a couple have made big strides in the last few weeks. So if anyone listening is involved in asset tokenization, go and check it out, because it's that part of crypto is ready to boom. The ability to list an asset, say a house, on a platform on the blockchain, tokenize it for a return X, 7%, 10%. That literally could be the next big thing. We had DeFi, NFTs, and now it could be assets on blockchain. So, but in the further long term, there are still a lot of user experience features that need to be ironed out. So even for us who know what we're doing, sending crypto to and from using addresses is a bit stressful. We have whitelisting and stuff like that, but you need to check addresses 3 or 4 times to make sure, especially if you're sending a big amount, you need to check.
Yeah, I think I actually tried to move some Dogecoin around and I lost it because I put the wrong address in, and I think it just went somewhere into oblivion. And it was stressful. It was only about £100. Right. Yeah. It wasn't that, because you hear these stories of people who, and this is something else, people who have physical hard drives for cryptocurrency and they lose them, because they bought some Bitcoin like 10 years ago, and then they realize all of a sudden that they could be a billionaire, but they can't find their USB. Isn't that so contradictory?
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
It makes me think, like, you can buy crypto wallets, physical wallets. Doesn't that go against the whole idea of having digital? Like, it just negates that, for me anyway. Maybe I'm not understanding it correctly.
So crypto, the hardware wallet. So I have a Ledger Nano X. It's not the wallet that holds the Bitcoin or your crypto itself. The wallet itself is, I guess, like a gateway into your wallet. The good news is that wallet has a secret key, and that is where your crypto is stored. So it's all on the blockchain. If you lose that wallet, you don't lose it as long as you haven't lost your secret key. The problem is people lose their secret key because it's usually
I noticed that. I'm having to write things down, because it's like you need to write this down, otherwise you won't be able to get into it. It's not like forget password. Sends you an email. It doesn't work like that. If you lose that, you have lost everything in that account. Which I guess is good. I mean, security is higher now, right? Surely.
Yeah, it is. But the problem is that for us, we make one mistake, it'll be fine. We'll know not to do it in the future. But for our parents and their parents and the older generations, how will they ever adopt that sort of technology? Because people they've been used to going to the post office, posting money and whatever, and just having cash in the mattress,
heading down to the bank if they need something, not even using ATMs, just going to a desk and trying to withdraw, deposit money that way. And I guess because things are moving so quickly, the older generations, like the baby boomers, like my father's in his late 50s. And he's not particularly old, but even he can't get his head around it. He just cannot get his head around crypto. And he's, every time I mention it, he's like, please tell me you haven't got money in crypto. But it's just a lack of understanding and a lack of knowledge that technology can be used in this way. I guess this is slightly off topic now, but I mean, that was an interesting conversation. I mean, I've got quite a surface level knowledge of it, but it's something that everyone needs to understand more. And if either of us could advise people listening to this who have absolutely no idea, is just slowly find your way to different resources that teach you about it, especially fintech. And I wanted to get on now to ask you about some of the opportunities for students as well, particularly like what roles are available in the industry in fintech for students, and what you think will what new roles you think will be added in the future.
Yeah, sure. So there's a lot of roles. I guess you could think of fintech as like an umbrella sector. And then under there are different niches. So you've got payments, data, markets, software. And then you've got more niche ones like property tech. So I'm sure you've heard of Good Lord, we're a student. Acasa, that's all property tech. You've got energy tech like Octopus Energy and Bulb and stuff. You've got reg tech like on Fido. insurance tech like Zago, and you've got quantum tech like Rigetti and IONQ. So there's a lot of different niches within fintech, and I guess fintech is like the umbrella overall. But roles for students, you kind of need to like know what you want to do, sort of thing, or what you're interested in. In regards to new roles, most roles will overlap in a general sense. Obviously, you'll need general, niche knowledge. So say you want to go into, I don't know, property tech, you'll need to know certain stuff about properties. But the overall working in a fintech will be very, very different to a traditional property, consultancy firm or whatever.
Yeah. So how so?
It'll just be smoother, cleaner. And they'll be trying to implement some sort of technology to basically automate things. So my parents are buying a house at the moment, and I kid you not, it's so long. We were accepted, the seller accepted the offer, end of August, I want to say, or like start of September. And, we're expecting completion by the end of the year. Like 4 months to move house shouldn't really be a thing. And obviously, like, I know people are busy and solicitors are busy and because of COVID and everything like that, but 4 months is a lot of time. And, property tech, maybe that's another one of those sectors, that is waiting to boom. If someone could come along and, streamline that process of getting a mortgage, getting your solicitors together and getting everything sorted out and cutting that time, that's basically what a fintech is built to do. So if anyone's interested in maybe a business idea, look into streamlining a house buying process. Try and bring that on chain. And again, it comes down to asset tokenization, which we were talking about. And you said, how you can own things exclusively on the blockchain. Why not do that with houses? It's another asset, isn't it? So maybe you could use the NFT technology and implement it for houses.
Yeah. No, that's really interesting. And I think, I guess if you're interested in an area with this in business, like in property, for example, is an understanding of the space and then the tech side. So the automation of the process, I guess. And it fits in a lot with my thinking, because I'm always looking for ways to make things take less time. Like if I can do a task that typically takes 3 hours and 15 minutes, I'm on that. Like efficiency is everything. I think if you sit in there answering emails for 12 hours a day, there's a way to do that much quicker. There's so much software now, and Tim Ferriss speaks about this in the 4 Hour Work Week. For anyone who doesn't know Tim Ferriss, he's like a successful entrepreneur and talks about sort of automating things. And this was back in 2008. So I mean, the whole thinking for me is, you can download software that batches emails and sends out an autoresponder so that you check your emails twice a day, and people know that's when you answer. So there's no constant stream of information. And I know this is slightly off topic, but it's the sort of the values that I feel, the principles that I have in terms of efficiency and productivity. I think fintech is a fantastic space and one that I'll definitely be putting more time into. And I was going to ask you about prerequisites for breaking into fintech. So is there anything particular, any technical knowledge you would recommend, or is it just an understanding of what you enjoy and how to connect that with the technology?
Yeah, exactly that. So the misconception is that you need coding skills to break into fintech.
That's exactly what I would have thought.
Yeah, the case is that it's not you don't need coding at all, really. Unless you're going for a software job, then obviously you'll need coding. But in general, what fintechs look for is passion and genuine interest in the subject area that you want to go into. So based on the podcast that we've done, that's been like a key theme throughout. So, doing a side project, doing research projects, maybe writing a paper on it, just doing something out of the norm to try and integrate yourself into that sort of ecosystem and environment, and try and pick up some of the skills that will make you successful in that job, will show that you have a genuine interest, and the company will be more likely to take a risk on you either way. That's one of the things that I noticed between Barclays and when we went to go see Revolut. the working cultures are very, very different. Things are done very, very differently. And, I came out from Revolut, and obviously Octopus Energy is similar to Revolut. They're very, very new companies, very, very young, vibrant, and the working cultures are very, very different compared to a traditional firm like Barclays. Barclays has its pros, but it also has its cons. Fintechs has their pros and cons as well. It's just I prefer the pros of a fintech than the pros of a traditional bank. So it really does. Yeah. So in regards to prerequisites, there's no defined skill set because again, it's such a new area. But it's not like it's not like a checklist like you do for traditional firms and like stuff like that. So it's more about fintechs care more about you as a person, I'd say, and what your personality is like and how you fit in with the culture at the company. I'd say that's a lot more.
Yeah. So you're saying it's not like if you want to go and work in investment banking, it's like, can you do a DCF model? Do you know Excel? It's sort of like ability to learn, which is the same in all firms really, but it's just sort of a passion for innovation, I guess, and change. Because I guess if you're stuck in the past, it's not really going to be for you because it's constant adaptation. Yeah. So yeah, I want to wrap up now, but I want to sort of come back to work in fintech. And for anyone who's interested, and I'm hoping some people are interested in the space and the topics we've been over today, but how exactly can people get involved? After people finish listening to this episode, what can they do to get involved with work in fintech, and what is out there?
Yeah, so there's actually a few things actually. So we're in the process of creating our courses at the moment. So we have two co-founders. Both very, very successful. They're in the process of building the courses. We should be rolling them out in the next few months to our first basically exclusive cohort. And then the cohort obviously will be split into three. So there'll be one group per, course, I guess. So there'll be students and grads. There'll be professionals looking to move to fintech from traditional finance. And then there'll be those already in fintech wanting to advance their careers or move faster or, some sort of career guidance. The good news is that our second co-founder, Ying Cao, she was head of digital assets at Barclays. And then she left to start her coaching business. So her mentoring and coaching skills would be really, really useful for the course. If you're interested in literally anything that we've spoken about today, learning about fintech, wanting a career in the space, or even just chatting to us about fintech itself and, seeing what's out there, or if there's something that's piqued your interest and you want to find out more, you can head over to workinfintech.com and sign up to the mail list. We'll be sending, exclusive info over the next few weeks in regards to the courses and also job offers. So we have a list of jobs that Matthew's managed to find from fintechs and banks. So not banks, so Bitpanda Pro, TBI Cap. So if you're interested in having a career in fintech, also get in touch. If you'd like just more information in general and don't really want to sign up to the mail list, obviously I would say do that, but then get in touch with myself on LinkedIn, Jagraj Singh. Or just get in touch with Alex and he'll signpost you to myself. And finally, we're also recruiting. So if you'd like to join the team and really get involved with work in fintech, then we're looking to bring some interns on board just to help out with the podcast and also the courses moving forward. So again, get in touch with me via LinkedIn or through the website. And finally, just give us a follow on our socials and have a listen to the podcast. I can almost guarantee that there will be a podcast for everyone on there, regardless of what you're interested in. So, thank you for having me.
Yeah, and just to finish, then I can confirm that the podcast is incredibly interesting. There's some really, really interesting speakers, and yeah, as you said, definitely one for everyone. In terms of links to everything that Jag has just mentioned, I'll put them all in the description. Make sure you head there and you can see Jag's LinkedIn and also the link to Work in Fintech. You can get on the mailing list. So. It's been a fantastic conversation. Really, really enjoyed it. Thank you, Jag Singh.
Thanks, Alex.